A woman tried to return a torn, stained couch, claiming it came like this. When I declined, she yelled, "I'll call corporate. They always bend the rules for me." I smiled and handed her a number. She dialed, confident, until my boss answered, "Hello, Fraud Investigation Department." She stammered, dropped the phone, and ran. I work at a mid-sized furniture chain in Chicago. Been there a long time, long enough to have seen my fair share of weird, annoying, entitled, or downright shady customers. But there's this one woman, and I swear, she thought she was smarter than everyone else in the room. That day, she messed with the wrong guy. It was a slow Tuesday around 2:30 p.m. The kind of day where the air conditioning hums louder than the customers because there just aren't any. I was behind the counter doing some end-of-day price audits when I noticed the truck outside. It was a rented U-Haul, not one of ours. I remember thinking that was strange because customers don't usually bring stuff back in trucks unless they're angry. Out jumps this woman. Mid-40s, short brown bob, sunglasses, even though it wasn't sunny, and this sharp expression that told me she wasn't coming in to browse. She marched in like she owned the place. Didn't say hello. Didn't look around. Just walked up, holding her phone and her purse like they were weapons. She snapped her fingers and said, "I need to return a couch." Now, returns on furniture are rare. People don't lug sectionals around unless there's a serious issue. And company policy is crystal clear. If there's a defect, we need to know within 24 hours of delivery. No exceptions. Otherwise, you're stuck with it. If someone tries to return it after that, it better be factory new. I asked her where the couch was, and she pointed out the window. Two younger guys were dragging a sofa out of the truck. And let me tell you, this thing looked like it had been through a war. Torn on the armrest, huge stain on the seat, leg busted, and what I swear was a gum wrapper stuck to the back. It smelled like it had been in someone's garage with a leaky can of paint and a wet dog. I stayed calm. "Ma'am," I said, "when did you purchase this couch?" "Last week," she said. "It was delivered last Thursday. It came like this." I looked at the couch again. Torn, stained, used to hell. "So you're saying this is how it looked when it arrived?" "Yes," she snapped. "Exactly like this. The delivery guys dropped it off, and I was busy. I didn't really look until later." "Did you contact us when you noticed the damage?" She rolled her eyes. "No, I figured I'd just bring it back myself. So here I am. Now, I know this game. I've seen it. People buy a couch, throw a party, mess it up, and then try to return it like it came that way. And when you say no, they flip. But this woman was already ahead of the curve. She was prepared. She had a story, a tone, and that face that said she believed the world owed her something. I calmly told her, "Ma'am, our policy is that any damages need to be reported within 24 hours. It's been nearly a week." And right then, her voice went up. Not yelling, but sharp. Like a knife. "I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm telling you I want to return it. It came like this. I have my receipt." I looked at the receipt. Sure enough, she bought it a week ago. But receipts don't override policy, especially not when something looks like it's been in a frat house for a semester. "I'm sorry," I said, keeping it professional. "But I can't accept this return. The damage clearly wasn't caused during shipping or delivery." And that's when she went nuclear. "You listen to me," she snapped. "I spend thousands here. I've bought 3 living room sets from this store in the last 2 years. I know how this works. I'm friends with your district manager. I'm calling corporate. They always take care of me when store employees get difficult." "Of course," I said, staying neutral. "You're welcome to call corporate. Let me get you the number." Now, here's the part she didn't know. We've had a growing problem with return fraud lately. Enough that corporate got involved. Enough that we now route certain customer calls through a specific number when staff suspects something fishy. It goes straight to the Fraud Investigations Department. Not just a guy in a suit, either. It's a whole team with legal authority, paper trails, and connections to the company's loss prevention team. I handed her the number, smiling politely. "This line will get you the fastest response." She didn't even hesitate. She smirked, pulled out her phone, and dialed. Put it on speaker, too, like she wanted me to hear just how powerful she was. Her whole attitude was smug, like she was already rehearsing the apology she thought I'd have to give. The phone rang once, then, "Hello, this is the Fraud Investigation Department with company name. Who am I speaking with?" The woman froze. The voice on the other end was calm, male, very direct. I think I called the wrong number," she said, suddenly fumbling with her phone. "This is the number provided to customers suspected of fraudulent returns," the voice replied. "Are you reporting a case?" She stuttered something I couldn't make out. Then she hit the red button so fast I heard the beep before she dropped the phone onto the counter. Her face? It looked like she'd seen a ghost. She grabbed her purse, didn't say another word, and sprinted out the door, leaving the couch behind. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. She knew. The second that voice answered, she knew she was done. And the best part? I later found out she had tried this exact same trick at another store in the chain just 3 months earlier. That store had flagged her in the system, which is how I knew to route her to that number. It wasn't personal, it was policy. But man, it felt good. A week passed. I didn't think much about her after that day. Honestly, I figured she'd crawl back under whatever rock she came from and let it go. People like her usually do big scene, big threats, then silence. But she didn't let it go. It started with a voicemail on the store's main line. It came in after hours. The voice was distorted, but you could still tell it was her. She didn't say her name, but she didn't have to. That smug, entitled tone? I'd recognize it in my sleep. You think you're clever. You'll be hearing from my attorney. You messed with the wrong person. No name. No actual complaint. Just vague threats. I played the voicemail for my manager the next morning. He laughed and deleted it. Then came the Yelp reviews. 5 of them, posted under different usernames, all within hours of each other. Each one had some version of the same story. Rude male employee, refused a simple return, called me a liar, store smells like mildew, I found a bug in one of the couches. I know it was her. Same writing style. Same bizarre mix of lies and overdramatics. One even mentioned being traumatized by the way I was treated. Traumatized from being told, no, we flagged the reviews and got them removed, but not before they started messing with our weekly rating metrics. Corporate pays attention to that stuff. My manager gave me a heads up, just stay on your toes. If she escalates this, we're covered, but I don't want any more fires. Fine by me. A few days later, I saw her again. She didn't come inside. She parked across the street and just sat there, in the driver's seat of a different car this time. I saw her through the window. She stayed parked for at least 40 minutes, just watching the store. I told my manager, who called mall security. By the time they got there, she was gone. I thought maybe that would be it. Like maybe she just needed one last weird stare down and would finally move on. Then came the packages. At first, it was just junk mail. Catalogs, random flyers with no return address. We didn't think anything of it. Happens to every business. Then a giant box showed up at the back entrance. Addressed to our store. No sender. The guy in receiving called me down. Hey, did you order a return shipment? No, I said. Why? He pointed at the label. It was handwritten. The name on it? My full name. First and last. Spelled correctly. Inside the box, couch cushions. Moldy, damp, and reeking of cat pee. Shoved in garbage bags but leaking through. There was also a note, written in thick black marker. Now you can have it back. My stomach turned. I could smell it from 4 feet away. The note was stuffed inside one of the cushions. We had to get hazmat involved just to dispose of it properly. I filled out an incident report. Corporate was notified. They pulled footage from the dock cameras. A woman, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, dropped the box off from the back of a car and sped away. Plates were covered with a piece of cardboard. It wasn't over. I got doxxed. Someone, guess who, found my personal social media. I keep things pretty locked down, but she found an old tag from a friend's post that listed my name and the store I work at. That's all she needed. Suddenly, I was getting weird DMs, messages from random accounts calling me a thief, a liar, a sad little man hiding behind store policy. Someone posted a picture of a random couch and claimed I had stolen it from a customer. It was all fake, but it felt real for a second. Too real. That's when I got angry. Before, I was just doing my job. Now, this woman was trying to ruin my life over a couch. A couch she destroyed. So I started digging. I remembered something she said, that she had bought 3 living room sets from our stores in the last 2 years. That's not nothing. That's a pattern. A record. And if she used the same name, we could find every single purchase. Every return. Every call to customer service. I asked our internal fraud rep to pull up her history. We weren't supposed to look up customers unless there was a reason. But now we had a reason. The package, the harassment, the fake reviews, it all counted. Her file was a gold mine. 6 major purchases in 3 years. 4 returned within 30 days. 2 never returned, but refunded anyway after complaints. Each one had a story. Fabric too rough, frame cracked, leg was wobbly, color faded. And every time, she kept the furniture. There were photos taken by delivery teams. Same couch, still in her house. Different angle. Same rug. Same coffee table. She'd been working the system for years. The real twist? She was flagged 2 years ago internally, but no one followed through. A note from a regional manager said, possible abuse of policy, but customer is high spend. Leave alone for now. So they did. Until now. Because now, she crossed the line. Corporate greenlit a full investigation. They were building a case. Surveillance, call logs, purchase history, everything. They even pulled DMV records to identify her vehicle from the drop-off. Turns out, she wasn't as careful with the other car. Plates were visible, registered to her husband. They opened a formal fraud case under her name. And then they called her. Not a friendly customer service call. A legal call. From someone very high up. She didn't answer the first time. But she called back. And that call? I heard about it secondhand, but apparently it didn't go well for her. I wasn't supposed to know, but one of the higher-ups told me she's not going to like what's coming next. I still didn't feel done, though. She tried to smear my name. She stalked me. She weaponized a return policy like it was a legal contract. And I knew something was still coming. She wasn't done either. A few days after corporate made that call to her, things went quiet again. No more reviews. No more mystery packages. No new voicemails. For the first time in weeks, it felt like things might be settling down. I finally slept through the night without checking my phone every hour. Then, a man walked into the store. He didn't look like a shopper. Tall, dressed in business casual but trying too hard to be relatable, button-down shirt with jeans, leather shoes that hadn't seen a day of real use, Bluetooth headset in one ear. He asked for me by name. I stepped out from behind the counter, cautious. I'm him. He smiled, but not warmly. Mind if we talk somewhere private? My manager looked at me, eyebrows raised. I nodded. We stepped into the customer service office in the back. He didn't sit. I represent someone who's recently had a very unpleasant experience with your store, he began. She's asked me to discuss a resolution with you before things escalate further. I already knew where this was going. I leaned against the desk. So she actually hired someone? He didn't flinch. My client is prepared to pursue legal action if the situation isn't handled properly. What situation? The way you treated her. The refusal to honor a return. The false accusation of fraud. The emotional distress caused by the way she was spoken to. I left. I couldn't help it. He didn't like that. You think this is funny? No. I think it's pathetic, I said. Your client tried to scam us with a trashed couch, left garbage at our dock, stalked the store, left fake reviews, and tried to smear me personally. Corporate already opened a fraud case. If she wants to escalate, tell her to go ahead. He stayed silent for a few seconds. Then he opened his bag and handed me an envelope. Consider this a formal demand letter. I didn't take it. My manager walked in just then, as if on cue. Everything okay? I looked at the guy. We're good. Just wrapping up. He stared at me for a moment, then nodded and walked out, envelope still in hand. We watched from the front window as he got into the same black Lexus I saw parked across from the store weeks ago. That should have been it. But then one of our warehouse guys came to me the next morning, pale as a sheet. You need to see something. He took me to the back dock. Overnight, someone had spray-painted the side of our delivery truck. Bright red letters, dripping down the side like blood. Thief. It had to be her. No cameras caught it, angle was wrong, but the timing was perfect. Same night the so-called legal rep showed up. Same car spotted circling the lot earlier. That pushed everything into overdrive. Corporate involved security consultants. One of the VPs made a surprise visit to the store. We were told not to engage if she ever came back in person. Police were called for a report, and I was pulled into a long conversation with the guy who didn't say he was from legal, but he might as well have been. They were preparing a case. Not just against her, against a small network of people who'd been working a scam across several stores. And guess what? She wasn't acting alone. Turns out, the two guys who helped her unload the couch that first day, one of them used to work for a delivery subcontractor we had fired a year earlier for losing inventory. We thought it was just disorganization. Turns out, a few of those guys had been working a side hustle, damaging deliveries for friends and family so they could claim refunds. Guess whose name popped up on several of those claims? The woman. They were all tied together. Every complaint. Every late return. Every stain or broken frame. It had been going on for years. Not just at our location, other stores too. Same tactics, same stories. Most stores refunded just to avoid drama. But this time, she pushed too far. Still, she wasn't finished. A week after the graffiti, I got a letter at home. No return address. Inside was a photo of me, taken from behind, walking from the parking lot into the store. On the back, written in block letters, "Watch your back." That was it. I showed it to corporate. They escalated again. Police took another report. They offered me paid leave, but I said no. I wasn't letting someone like her scare me out of my job. If she wanted to play dirty, fine. I knew she was about to run out of moves. But then something strange happened. One of the old warehouse guys, someone I hadn't seen in over a year, called the store. Asked to speak with me. I remembered him. Quiet guy. Good worker. Got laid off when we downsized after COVID. He didn't even say hello. I need to warn you, he said. She's planning something bigger. I asked what he meant. She's trying to frame you. Something about evidence she's collecting. I don't know the whole plan, but I overheard her bragging. She wants to get you fired, sued, whatever she can. She thinks if she pushes enough buttons, the company will cave. I asked how he knew her. He hesitated. I used to date her sister, he said. Until I realized they're both nuts. She used to brag about scamming stores. She's obsessed with control. It's not just about the couch. You embarrassed her. He gave me a name. Another ex-employee. Someone who used to work in the call center. Someone who had access to internal files, notes, even employee info. She wasn't just playing games anymore. She was digging. And if she got her hands on the right piece of fake evidence, something doctored, something believable, she might actually convince someone high up to settle or fire me, just to be safe. That's when I realized this was way bigger than I thought. She wasn't trying to get her money back anymore. She wanted revenge. And if I didn't get ahead of her, she might just win. I didn't sleep for days after that call. The warning from the ex-warehouse guy played over and over in my head. She wasn't just harassing me, she was building something. A setup. A trap. And I couldn't afford to just wait around for it to drop. I called corporate again. Told them everything. The pictures sent to my home. The guy who warned me. The ex-call center employee whose name had popped up. They listened, but they were cautious. We'll look into it, they said. But I could tell, until something concrete happened, their hands were tied. That wasn't good enough. So I started documenting everything. Every weird DM, every suspicious package, every phone call, even the ones that didn't answer. I started a folder. Time-stamped screenshots. Security reports. Copies of emails. If she was going to accuse me of something, I wanted the record airtight. Then, 3 weeks after the last incident, it happened. A corporate HR rep flew in and walked straight into the store with a folder in his hands. He didn't shake my hand. Didn't smile. Just said, "We need to speak privately." He pulled out a printed email. A customer complaint. A long, dramatic write-up about how I had harassed a female customer, threatened her on the phone, and even showed up at her house demanding she withdraw a return request. Attached were blurry photos, one of me walking into a building, another of a man in a hoodie, not me, and a supposed voice recording of me yelling at someone. Except the audio was choppy, clipped, and clearly spliced together. I couldn't believe it. "This is fabricated," I said immediately. "Every bit of this is fake." He looked at me. "Can you prove that?" I handed him the flash drive I'd been keeping in my pocket for 2 weeks. "Start with this." He reviewed the folder. Every document. Every security report. Every signed incident log. It took an hour. He barely spoke. Then, he stood up. "I believe you," he said. "And I think we're done playing nice." Later that day, they called her. They asked her to come in. Told her they were ready to discuss a resolution. She came, of course. She couldn't resist a stage. She walked in like she owned the place, new sunglasses, new purse, same smug grin. She didn't even notice I was sitting in the back office, listening through the thin wall. She started strong. "I've had enough. That employee you're protecting? He's unstable. He showed up at my house. I'm ready to take this public." But corporate didn't blink. "Actually," the rep said, sliding a folder toward her, "we have some things to go over first." He opened the folder. Every lie. Every scam. Every photo, voice message, text, email. The security camera footage. The delivery photos. The receipt inconsistencies. The fraudulent return history going back 5 years. Then the big one, an affidavit from her sister's ex, confirming the whole thing. The fake couch returns. The use of burner accounts. The spray paint. The photos sent to my home. She went pale. Her voice dropped. "This is absurd. You can't prove any of this." "You're right," he said. "We can't prove all of it. But enough of it crosses the line into criminal. The fake evidence you submitted? That alone is a felony." She stood up. "I want a lawyer." "That's fine," he said. "But you're no longer allowed on any of our properties. You'll be hearing from legal, and you should probably talk to your husband before this escalates. His name is on 2 of those vehicles." Silence. Then something I didn't expect, she cracked. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just broke. She sank into the chair, staring at the papers in front of her. Her whole body changed. Smaller. She wasn't screaming anymore. Wasn't smug. She looked tired. Defeated. "My husband's going to leave me," she whispered. "He doesn't even know I bought half of that stuff. He thinks it was gifted, from my sister." Corporate didn't say anything. She didn't apologize to me. Never even looked at me. But when she left, she didn't slam the door. She just walked out like she didn't know where she was going anymore. The fallout came fast. The police opened a case. The call center employee was fired. A small ring of fraudsters connected to her was slowly unraveled, including a few former delivery guys who confessed to being paid off with cash or favors. She didn't go to jail, but she was sued into silence. A civil case, non-disclosure, a repayment plan. I heard she had to sell her house. Her husband filed for divorce. As for me, I stayed at the store for a while longer. People treated me differently, like I was bulletproof. But I wasn't. The whole thing shook me more than I wanted to admit. I didn't trust people the same way anymore. I kept checking my mail, looking over my shoulder, waiting for something else to come. It didn't. A few months later, I left the job. Not because of her. I just needed a change. A clean break. I didn't want my life to be defined by that one awful couch and the woman who tried to destroy me over it. Sometimes I wonder what she tells people now. If she pretends it never happened. If she blames someone else. If she ever thinks about how far she went just to avoid admitting she ruined a piece of furniture. But that's not my problem anymore. What I do know is this: some people lie because they think they're untouchable. And some of them keep lying, even when the walls are closing in. But eventually, the truth finds a way out. And when it does, it doesn't care how loud you scream. It just walks in, quiet and cold, and lays everything bare. I learned that the hard way. And I won't forget it.